Hello and welcome to the video showing you how to put audio on iTunes. Now, I promise you it's not difficult, though it is the longest of the videos that we've done so far. Follow along exactly. Any bits you don't get, just go back and check them again and you will get this. You do need to get this exactly right for the best search engine results. So let's get on with it. The first thing we need to do is get iTunes. You will need that. So if you haven't got iTunes, you need to go to Google and just type in this. There you go, iTubes. It's interesting. The first search that comes up is download iTunes. That's how it's gone into images for some reason, but the first search in everything is download iTunes, and you just need to download it there. And when you've done that, you will need to create an account and get an iTunes ID. Okay, so when it's downloaded, you go to create account and fill in all your details. It will take your credit card details. It won't bill you any money. The only time it'll bill you any money is it'll do it automatically if you buy something from iTunes. Otherwise, it just keeps your credit card details and it keeps them safely. I don't think there's a way around this, unfortunately, but you do need iTunes if you're going to obviously put a podcast on there. I didn't make the rules up, unfortunately, so hopefully that's not a problem. If it is, stop the video now, but if it's not, let's carry on. You fill in all your details and then it will ask you to confirm the ID that you created. Okay, and it'll look something like this. It'll send you an email. I did it with a new account for my blog Become Free. info@becomefree.co.uk was the email address I entered, and it will just ask you to verify it, just to check it's really you and not somebody making it up. So you just click the verify in the email that gets sent. So we're going to sign in with the Apple ID and password, which is the ID is the email address, like that, and the password, I'm not going to tell you that. Right, so just click verify address. It's thinking about it, as you can see. Let's give it a little time to think. So we just and there you go. It's now associated. info@becomefree.co.uk is now associated that with my Apple account, which is marvellous. Which means that when I go to iTunes, I can now sign in with that email address. I already have an iTunes account for a different email address, you see. Right, so sign in at the top right there. Let's just put this in. Just sign in there. And there we go, and we will come back to that a little bit later. See, it says podcasts on the top. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be using. Okay, that's part one done. Just to confirm, download iTunes, fill in all the details, confirm the email address with your iTunes ID, and the ID will be your email address. Okay, so you just pop that in, and that's your iTunes account set up. Even knows you by name. Look at that. Welcome, Neil. How very nice. Anyway, now we need a feed. I feel the need for a feed. We need to go to feedburner.com. Okay, this is creating an RSS, or really simple syndication feed. Okay, but you will need this feed to tell iTunes where your podcast is. Now, the reason for all this complicated setup is once it's done once, it's set and forget. Once we've done this, and bearing in mind that we've got a plugin that we put in our blog in earlier videos called PodPress, I'm sure you remember uploading and configuring it, that all does it for you. It automates a load of the process, but it does need to be set up once, but only once. That is the good thing about it. So it is set and forget once we've done it once. So we're going to sign in. Now, it's gone to Google, and the reason why is that FeedBurner have merged with Google. So don't let that bother you. Now, there's one I made earlier. in true Boo Peter fashion. But what you would need to do to burn a feed, you would need to do this. You need to type in the name of your blog, website.com/blog. I'm a podcaster. You bet your bibby you are. So you tick that little box there. Okay. And it's very clever, FeedBurner, because it has correctly recognised that that is actually not the correct name for a blog. Alright? But if you do type in a correct name, let's see what happens if we type in become free. Remember to check I'm a podcaster. It's asking me to identify the feed source. There's more than one feed there. Okay. That doesn't matter. It says it's been verified. There you go. Very, very good. And then you will need just to type in what you want your feed to be called. Okay, it's using the website address here. That's fine. Or you could just type in the name without the www. It's just a name. You can call it what you want. Doesn't really matter. And the feed address. This is where people will find your new feed. Now, that's a bit long, so I might want to rename that. So we could rename that with something similar if I wanted to. And then you go on to the next one. Okay. Now that is saying that it's already taken, and again that is correct because it is already taken. So let me show you what it looks like when it's done. The reason why it's already taken is because I've already made it, obviously. You won't get that sign up. You will get a different sign up saying here is your feed, and you will eventually get to something like this, which looks like a page like this. This is, you know, the name you gave it there. So if we click on that, there you go, big spike of traffic, that's what I like. But then if you click on publicize, it gives you details on how to publicise your feed and get it out there a bit. And then as you can see, I've clicked on edit feed details, and this is the address it's given it. So let's remember that. http feeds.feedburner.com with this complicated looking thing at the end. So what I would suggest you do is copy the feed address, to get a notepad or something on the computer. Like I say, we only need to do this once. I know it seems a bit complicated at the moment, but do stay with me. Okay, so it's http feeds.feedburner.com. Let me copy that as well. Okay, just remember that for the future. Okay, there is your feed. That is your feed address. Now we just need to go and fill it in a few places. Right. First of all, let's fill it in PodPress. Now you need to log into your blog, go to the admin panel, and in the admin panel you will see PodPress. Click on that. Let's just go through this and fill in the details. We've already activated PodPress, now we're going to fill it in. Now, this iTunes feed ID you will not get yet. You will not get that until it's been accepted as a podcast in iTunes. Right? But I think a podcast I made earlier has been, so I should be able to show you how to do it at the end of the video. If not, I'll show you on a different one. Then you put in your feed in this box here, the one you copied and pasted. There it is. So we just copy, paste that into there, and just in case we were worried it wasn't a validated feed, let's just check. Feed validator results. Congratulations, it's a valid RSS feed. Woohoo! Okay. So let's go back into our blog. There we go. Now, it's important to give as many of these details as you can. This is quite a bit of work, but it does only need to be done once. This is the summary that's going to appear in iTunes. Okay, I've given quite a nice summary. This is about personal growth and change work, and it's about neurolinguistic programming, which I'm sure you've heard of. I've put in quite a nice summary. Welcome to the world of Become Free. This is part of a vast field that's NLP, showing you how to create positive changes in your life to help you move to a more wonderful life. Okay, which is quite a nice intro. Now, the image, here's how you do that. This is the image that's going to appear in iTunes, so it is quite important. If you've got a brand, a personal brand, it's important to get the image, that brand across all platforms, whether it's in your blog header, and then in iTunes, and all that sort of thing. So if we look at my main websites very quickly, very simple website, but you can see on the front that picture's there. So we're just going to mimic that on the blog. How do you do that? How do you find that picture? Okay, you go to File Transfer Protocol, FTP. You go into the Images folder. Okay, just take you back. See, it would be in Public HTML, Images, and then just select the one you want. In this case, it's to JPG. You would know what the name of the picture is because you would have uploaded it. So we just copy the one you want and then go back to PodPress. Now, if you were to just copy that straight in, it would look something like this. But obviously that isn't very good. So you would need to make it look like this. You don't even need to put in public HTML. www.becomeFree.co.uk/images/2.jpg. Just the name of the website / the image folder / the name of the image. That is all you need. Alright? And when you put that in there, the image will come up. iTunes owner author, that's me, and my website address. You can use, on the bottom left of your screen, the very bottom left, you should see a button called Control. One diagonal up to the right, there's like a down line, okay? Use that. That's quite a good way of putting in lots of branding in one opening, if you like, online in one slot. So you've got Neil Long, --down, becomefree.co.uk. And that's search engine love on 2 counts. First, because of the name of the website, and second, because of my name. Okay, the subtitle in iTunes, again, helping you make wonderful changes in your life with NLP. The keywords: peace of mind, NLP, learn NLP, become free, self-help, personal developments. The categories: well, you just got to choose the appropriate category for you. For me, I thought higher education, health and self-help. I'm just going to go down filling these in. Okay. It's another place for you to put your image. That's for the blog or RSS image. Don't need to do the further feed settings, I would have thought. But you can do the feed podcast. Let's do that one now. There's the RSS description, which I just copied and pasted from up here. Save me writing it all out again. Okay, the keywords for iTunes. You'll have already done your keyword research, I'm sure. They're the best ones for you. High demand, low competition are the best, of course. There we go. Let's put another little down facing thing there. That's the image that we want, which is copied and pasted from above. Your email address in there. And that is all we need to do. That is all we need to do. So let's click Update Options. Let's have a look at what it's going to look like in a directory. That's what it's going to look like in iTunes. And if you subscribe to some of the others, like Podcast Alley, that's what it's going to look like in Podcast Alley. See, PodPress will subscribe to all of these. If you set it up to do that. And it's fairly self-explanatory how to do that. I'm just showing you iTunes in this case. Let's go back to iTunes. Right. Now, let's go to the actual iTunes site. Now we've set it up in PodPress, we're now going to put the podcast in iTunes and get it approved. Now, you only need to do this once, because whenever you do a podcast from now, it will automatically update it. It'll go automatically to iTunes. So therefore, you only do need to do it once. So we're going to copy and paste this feed here. It's going to take a copy of that. Going to go over to iTunes. Let's return to the store. So there's iTunes. See, it's welcomed me. I've signed in with my email address. Now, let's go to podcasts. You see here it says submit a podcast. Well, let's do that. Podcast feed URL, that would be the RSS feed that we created earlier on. Do you remember that? It was that one. Or that one, what we put in PodPress. Same one. Copy, paste it in, and continue. And as you can see, that's correctly said, the feed's already been submitted. That won't happen to you because your feed won't have been submitted. There's just then a couple more steps after that, very easy, just for one click of a button, and then it will say something like, we are now reviewing your podcast and we get back to you when it is approved. A couple of days later, I got this email. First of all, they will tell you your podcast has been successfully created. They send you an email saying, there you go, look, this is when I did it yesterday. Dear podcast owner, your podcast feed, that's the one, was successfully added, is now under review. Okay, but then if we look at this one here, it's been approved. You should expect to see it on the iTunes store within the next few hours. When it's available, you'll be able to access it with the URL below. And because of all the other work we've done, as I say, every time we do a podcast now, PodPress will automatically upload it to iTunes. So you've done the work once, now you can set and forget it. There it is. Become free. Look at that. Podcast description, welcome to the world to become free. You see it's all there. Excellent. Let's view it in iTunes. There it is. You can subscribe. I might subscribe. You can even, when you subscribe, and look, if people subscribe, they can share it on Facebook, they can share it on Twitter, so it might be worth asking them to do that, putting a little call to action on your website, asking them to do that. Subscribe. Are you sure you want to subscribe? I won't subscribe, because I'm going to subscribe to my own podcast, but it's just showing you how it's done. How cool is that? Let's search the store for it. Obviously there is a lot there. It may come up on the first page, it may not. Alright, let's put in another keyword. Let's put in become free NLP. Ah! And there it is. If we click on that, And there it is, friends. There it is. Now, I mentioned the tag. Do you remember earlier on in this video I talked about the tag which you couldn't get until the podcast had been approved? Right. Well, let me show you that quickly now. There's the iTunes preview. And if you look here, the URL, see that ID? See those 8 digits? That is the tag for this particular podcast. Okay? There's a URL where you find the podcast on iTunes, and the ID is that tag on the end. Now, what we can do, we can put that in, here it is, in the PodPress, in our blog. There's another one that asks for it at the end, doesn't it, as well, if I remember rightly. Update options. And there we are. Let's just quickly go back to the podcast. So as you can see, it's quite an involved process, but once it's done once, that's it. Now we're now viewing the podcast in iTunes. We click the View in iTunes clicker, and there's one more thing I'm going to show you. There's a link to the website there as well. So if we click website, so people can actually click on your podcast and go to your website. How's about that, ladies and gentlemen? There you go. Now that's taking me to the blog. If I wanted it taken, if I wanted to be taken to the main website, I would just need to put something different in here. But there you go. And that's it. So, well done for following it all the way through to the end. Any problems, shoot me an email, neil@neillong.com, if you're unsure about anything, or if I can help you with anything at all. But that is basically how to get your podcast to iTunes, and after having set up PodPress, you can now set it and forget it, and you don't, my friends, have to do it again. And that's the end of this video. All the very best, and thanks for watching.